offensive line, too.
No, I'm saying when his line broke down and stuff, he made some good decisions.
Wilson was throwing the ball off the run better than Ponder did. Every time he's out of the pocket, it looked like you might have him. He still made
plays.
Completed passes.
Well, it's amazing how rapidly it can change, isn't it? I think Ponder should call up Joe Mauer and ask him about
what it's like.
March 2011, when he was the most popular athlete in Minnesota history, and 6 months later he was a pariah. Ponder, you go back a month, hey, we got our quarterback, baby, and now he's getting killed by everybody.
You know, Louis, you know this watching athletes, but, I mean, just on TV to watch his body language, it was just awful. He looked like he was hoping maybe somebody would pull him out of a game, standing by himself, looking for answers, all those things.
I'm not so certain that he's not a little concerned about his knee, too. He limped a couple times today, and he's had a little problem in the past couple of games, and maybe he hasn't got as much confidence throwing the ball because he's not confident in planting his knee.
I can tell you that he's having a problem with his knee, a lot of problems.
Okay.
But here's the thing, that Griffith, that Washington quarterback, he was the greatest thing to ever live. He won a game since they beat the Vikings.
Yeah.
I'd take him.
Griffin is still playing pretty well.
Okay, I'm just telling you.
So, Louis, let me ask you, athletes, if you were coaching or general manager, you think somebody has ability and you know they lack confidence and their confidence is shot. What would you do to try to restore it?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is maybe running plays that they feel he'll have more confidence in running and be able to produce. It's not working. And how long they're going to go like that, you don't know. Obviously, they haven't said anything, but if you notice, they haven't even talked about Webb or put Webb in. Maybe they're not so high on Webb's passing ability either, and that's one of the reasons why he hasn't gotten in so far.
He is a scatter arm, but Spielman's tied his wagon to this guy. They're not benching this guy. He's going to play. He beat Detroit once. He beat Detroit once this year. They're going to play Detroit next Sunday, and he'll be playing. And he just has to. They've tied their wagon to him. What are you going to do? Start all over again? Because you're not going to. Draft another one next year, because you're not going to turn the job over to Joe Webb. That's not going to happen.
No, you're right.
How about the great receivers they got? Tell me one receiver they got.
That's a part of the problem.
Outside of Harvard.
Obviously.
Who they got?
I'll tell you what doesn't help, though. He's getting the old Chris Carter, Randy Moss sideline treatment now. Harvard walking off the field, shaking his head in disgust.
That's my question. You see how they're tied to Ponder. Well, how does Percy Harvin and Adrian Peterson feel about that, and do they have a say, Louis, or should they?
Well, I don't think they should have a say. That's why you have a general manager and a coaching staff. They're going to make their decisions.
I mean, if somebody came in and said, Cesar Maniago out.
At times you come up with some most stupid things I've ever heard. I wrote a column Sunday about how Peterson loves him.
I'm sure he did. I didn't say that. I said the point is, what if some of the players if there's a backlash at all?
Players have no problem with him.
You know what I'd like to see, though, in the passing game? I'd like to see Jerome Simpson continue running his route rather than start signaling for pass interference. Wait until the play's over before you start complaining about pass interference.
I thought him healthy would be a difference, but it hasn't been. They haven't been as good since he came back.
They don't have any receivers outside of Harvard. Well, and that's one of their problems.
Well, they got some tight end receivers that are pretty good, but they didn't use the tight end very much today.
But you're right from the standpoint that that's what coaches are paid for. They may look at the tape and say, this isn't Ponder. We don't have good enough receivers to get open things that we don't see.
Sid, Rudolph, 2 catches in the last 3 games. What's going on? He was going to be a big weapon. What's going on? Is everybody are they
double covering him? That's what's happening.
Bumping him on the line.
They don't double him often.
He's the one guy they're double covering.
They're trying to keep him from getting off the line.
Yeah, but they're not doubling the tight end.
They're doubling
You don't double
Rudolph.
tight ends.
Okay.
You don't double tight ends
You're
in the
a football
NFL.
expert.
Okay? You don't double a tight end in the NFL. Take a break, come back.
They're not double.
Fourth quarter, he was
Locally owned, nationally known. J.D. Hoyt's was just over there the other day for some pasta. It was delicious. So were the pork chops. So was the steak. And oh yeah, that Buddy Bowl. Welcome back to the Sports Show as we continue to talk about the Minnesota Vikings and their decline this season. Sid, now what's realistic to think? Give us the official statement. Can they contend for a playoff spot?
I don't think so, because I think today Detroit won, Chicago won,
Green Bay won.
They all won.
The last 2 weeks,
I think they're all 3 better teams than them.
The last 2 weeks, the NFC North is 6-2, and both losses are the Vikings. So the other teams have all went 2-0. Green Bay lost Matthews. They lost Jordy Nelson. They get a week off, but they're all beat to hell. But they're probably still better than the Vikings.
And the Vikes do have Detroit at home, and they got Chicago 2 games coming up. So if they could do something in their own division, then they got a chance. But if they don't in the next 3 games, it's going to be pretty tough.
Quarterback's got a bad knee, and I don't think I think that's going to hamper him. And Harvin didn't practice all week, pretty much. He had a pulled hamstring, and he hurt himself again today. I don't think you got to have great wide receivers. This team at one time had the best wide receivers of any team in football. Tell me who they got right now. Jenkins, Atlanta let go. Simpson, Cincinnati let go. They had some guy playing today by the name of Felton playing most of the time.
Aroma should do is the other guy that you're thinking of, though.
Pardon me?
Aroma should do is the other guy that you're thinking of.
That rolls right off your tongue,
Yeah.
Sid. Aroma should do.
Yeah. They don't have any wide receivers. They got.
So what we're saying here is, what we're establishing here in November is, we're kind of right back to square one, the same debate we had in the summer is, when's another team going to be good in Minnesota, Patrick?
Well, the Wild, if they ever start playing,
Yeah.
I think they'll be pretty
Timberwolves
good.
look like they're going to be.
Well,
a good
Tonight
team.
they didn't look so good. They got beat by
but-
19.
Louis,
Yeah,
you're
but they have those 2 guys out.
Sure.
And some of the other guys. I mean, you're going to have a tough time maybe for a month and a half, but when you get the other 2 guys back, they should be pretty good.
Gophers will be in a bowl game. Listen, they are doing it with mirrors. They got an offense.
doing what with Mariners? They got beat by 22 points. That's not.
They
That's
have
not doing.
no offensive line, and you don't win without an offensive line. You got 3 freshmen and 1 sophomore and 1 guy from the offensive line. Jack Christensen is a number 3 center, although he's played awful good. They don't have an offensive line. I wrote tomorrow, they compare the Michigan defensive line with the Minnesota offensive line, it's a joke.
Well, that's why they got beat by 22 points.
That's
I would
right.
guess.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
well,
those
the
kids
Gophers.
Well, but in fairness, Michigan was missing the best player on either team. The quarterback, Denard Robinson, didn't play, and he's the best player on either team. If you want to start talking about injuries and comparing, the best player did not play.
Except that kid who played quarterback for him was one of the highest recruited players in the state of Ohio.
No doubt, but I'm saying
And
the best player was Denard
So was
Robinson.
Brandon Green.
he was pretty good. He was pretty good at quarterback.
He got better as the game went on, did
a little
some things.
better than what Minnesota had.
Well, I don't think.
Our coverage wasn't as good on the cornerbacks as we've had earlier in games. Wells, who had played really well, he had a tougher time yesterday. So did Stoudemire. And I have to tell you that penalty we got called in the
Pass
pass interference was a joke, and that helped turn the game around. Not that Michigan might not have beat the Gophers, but the Gophers were doing pretty well at that point.
It was a turning point in the game. Then those jerks, they try and even things up. They call 2 interference penalties on Michigan. There were question marks.
I don't think you can possibly lose to Illinois, though, can you?
No, I mean
terrible.
watching them against Ohio State,
They're terrible.
They just don't want to win.
They got.
I hope not.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like.
Louisiana Tech beat them by about 30, so that should make you
Well, they
bowl
beat
eligible.
Illinois 2 years in a row, so.
That should make you bowl eligible, and Iowa's not going to make a bowl game, and Purdue might not make a bowl game, and who for sure? There's about 3 of them that aren't going to make bowl. Who am I missing? Oh, when Ohio State and Penn State are ineligible, so.
How
Man,
about
you're moving
Indy-
up the ladder pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Here. One more win, yeah.
How about Indiana winning 2 games? in a row?
I'm holding my breath. I want to see that Oregon-Indiana Rose Bowl game. I think that'd be a nail biter. I think that'd be a nail biter.
I don't know if y'all turned over to that USC game last
How about
night.
Oregon?
Did you see that?
61 points.
Did you watch that?
Yeah.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it? I mean,
I
the
don't
speed
know what
on
happened
that
to
field.
Southern California with all the talent he gets.
There's never been a team that played this way in history.
No.
Oregon. I mean, they run.
He had the #1 recruiting class, and I'll tell you what, one of the greatest finishes I've ever seen in a game was Alabama yesterday. 45 seconds.
They could have lost.
They're against one of the best teams in the country, and that kid takes the team and marches them right
That
down.
Les Miles could screw up a 1-car parade, though. 17-14, you're
Adam.
dominating, and you got a chip shot field goal.
Yep.
Kick the field goal.
Yep.
Then you can play. Then I think they win the game. But they're trying to play to prevent the field goal, and they end up giving up a touchdown.
And Notre Dame lucked out too, by the way.
Oh, yes, God Almighty, was that?
I'll tell you, that was something.
Ooh, that's that staff
Against
of
Pittsburgh.
Paul Christ and that group,
Yeah.
Brooks Bollinger and that group. Yeah, but they had him 16 times.
Yeah.
The kid misses the field goal.
Yeah.
you know. But the difference in speed when you watch the Big Ten in the afternoon and then you move to the SEC at night, Louis, is
well,
holy cow.
Every time you see, whenever we had to play them, or even in the bowl games when Mason had to go against even Oregon. I mean, even far west. I mean, Oregon always seems to have fast teams.
How do they get these players into Oregon?
Nike.
Nike owns Oregon.
Yep.
And the guy with Nike, he's one of the best cheaters in the world.
You don't know he's
because
cheating.
he also gives the NCAA a ton of money, so they're not going to do that.
A conspiracy
well, no,
here.
but Nike built them these ungodly
Yeah.
facilities.
They got the
these
best
fabulous
basketball, too?
facilities.
Yep.
The best uniforms, the best everything.
They got the best everything. And if they need somebody pretty important, all of a sudden he gets a summer job at Nike, too. Like Woody Hayes used to have John
I don't think you
Gable.
can get them summer jobs anymore, can you? I don't
No,
think
no,
no.
you can't.
No.
No.
You can't?
No.
Not if they're on scholarship? Is that the rule?
No. Why? If you're an alumni, essentially you can't have any contact.
Okay, what if
You're
you're a
not supposed-
non-alumni? Maybe this guy from Nike, I don't know if he's an
Yeah,
Oregon
well,
alumni.
whether he's an alumni or not, I mean, they can't just come and pick the jobs. The
No,
kid's
but
gotta
he's
go
a
and find it,
booster. If you're donating,
If you're
donating
connected,
to athletics, you
if
can't.
you're
What do you
connected,
mean you're
they're
an
going to
alumni?
find it
You
out.
can't have any contact. Cargill hires 5-6 guys every summer.
You can't go and have contact. You can't go and do like, for instance, Harvey used to do when we had the people at the envelope company. You can't do that anymore, Sid.
Like you couldn't do it at RBC.
No.
You couldn't go directly.
Well,
a kid could apply
I mean,
through your human
yeah,
resources.
Exactly.
I'll
You
guarantee
can't.
You could go in and say,
There are
I think that'd be a
schools
good
that are doing
idea.
it.
There might be some people doing it.
Alabama, I'll guarantee he's doing it.
Take a break, come back, stay with us. There it is, Carousel Audi. Stop on by, test drive the Q7, the A7, the A8. You will fall in love. Say hi to Bruce Bonine, Charlie, and the whole gang out there. It's a comfortable place to have a cup of coffee, talk some sports, and oh yeah, test drive one of the great vehicles of all time. We were just talking a little bit about this. So the Big Ten with Ohio State and Penn State out, I mean, that really moves some teams up the ladder here that would not normally be there.
Yeah, like Reishi said when we were off the air, Purdue, or was we on the air? I don't know. Purdue's not going to go to a bowl game. Penn State can't go. Ohio State can't go.
Iowa.
Not gonna go.
Huh?
Iowa's in
not gonna
jeopardy.
go.
Iowa's not going to go. So if the Gophers win 6 games, they might get a decent January 1st bowl game.
The Meineke Car Care Bowl on New Year's Day, I think, in Houston, somewhere down there in Houston.
Sure. So why not, right? You've been a big believer always in that 5 weeks of practice is the big difference, right?
This team has got some pretty good talent. This kid, Williams kid, is a good example of one of the redshirt kids they brought back.
The freshman running back, you mean?
Yeah, Nelson is another good example. They got 20 pretty good football players. They got a offensive tackle from small town. What's that kid who was a high school recruited kid in the state?
Persig,
Huh?
Oh, yeah, from Brewers area, yeah.
Yeah, he's not playing.
All I know is Coach Brew used to tell me how important it was to get those 15 extra practices, and then he got fired.
Yeah, well, after his last 15 practice session, they came back and went 3-9 the next year, so it didn't do
he
them
got fired, yeah.
didn't do a lot of good.
I think it'll help this team.
The Gophers.
Yeah.
Well, it can't hurt you.
Got 8 seniors playing,
Yep.
and about 3 of those seniors shouldn't be playing. Rallis shouldn't be
Well, the
playing.
the defense is very experienced. It's the offense that's young.
Louis,
Defensively, they got all seniors and juniors.
Louis, they've restructured a little bit over there. They've let some people go, et cetera. How do you feel about the athletic department right now?
Well, you've hired somebody to come in and do a job, and I think we got 3 superstars there right now, and President Kaler, Norwood Teague, and Jerry Kill, and I think you got to let them do the job the way they want to do it. It's not for us on the outside to worry about who he's hiring and firing as far as his administrative help. I'm sure he knows the people that he's hired real well. He's very, very happy with their capabilities, and I think you're going to see a lot
They
of
got the
big
best
change there.
assistant athletic director
David Benedict.
they've ever had.
That's right. He's good.
You always thought Jeff
Next
Schemmel
to
was
Mark
the guy.
Dinard.
Yeah.
Since Mark
You
Dinard.
thought Schemmel was good.
Huh?
You thought Jeff Schemmel was really good.
Yeah, I think this guy's as good as Jeff Schemmel.
Louis, I just looked at the TV. You looked a little like Jean-Claude Killy today.
did.
You got the kind of the ski thing
Skiing.
going there.
We're getting close to
That's
it.
called
you know.
St. Croix.
About
Look,
those
that's
jackets,
called-
it's the same store. Only different color.
It's called St. Croix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. NHL, where are we at?
Well, it's talking again, and hopefully they're going to get something done. It just amazes me that the players don't realize by sitting out this long, they would have already had their agreement in place for probably 6, 7, 8 years and be right where they're at, and they'd be playing hockey and not have to concern themselves about getting a deal done. So I think that Fior realized that the owners are willing to sit out if they have to sit out the whole year. And I'm sure some of his players are getting upset because many of these guys, if this league doesn't play this year, many of these guys will never play again in the NHL. And there are going to be a lot of new faces. And, you know, if I was one of those guys and near the end of my contract making $3.5 million, and I got to take $3.2 million, I think I'd take it.
Well, the problem
I know I'd take it.
I'm not trying to brown nose you, but they had a guy like you who had contact with the players and the owners. You were on both. They don't have anybody right now who might be, like you were, a former player, then became general manager.
Well, what's Steve Yzerman?
I remember how you used to operate. You're one of the best operators in the business. If they had you, if they were smart, those players would call you and say, Louis, will you help us make a decision?
What about Steve Yzerman down in Tampa?
Pardon me?
What about Steve Yzerman down in Tampa? He was a great player, he's not a general manager.
This guy, Steve Yzerman, didn't have the contact he had.
Allegedly, though, the owners are going to make them whole on the 12%, right?
Well,
and it's all going to come out of the owner's share eventually.
No, not all of the owner's share.
Well,
that's the problem.
What they're saying.
But what happens?
That's what they're saying now is what might be the compromise.
What they're going to do is get it out of future earnings as they rise, and so they're going to be able to do it.
I don't want to bring this up.
I think they'll get it done.
I don't want to bring this up, but the respect people in hockey have for him was shown at that funeral. That was unbelievable.
For Louis. No doubt about it. No question about that. Take a break, come back, stay with us on the Sports Show. There it is, Wine and Dine with the Vikings coming up November. Great event at the Mall of America. A lot of players will be there coming up the bye week, etc. But that's Monday, November 19th. As you can see, stop on by. Taste of the NFL coming soon. How do you handicap this election?
I don't know. Looks like it's pretty close.
Looks like it's pretty close going down the stretch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Gopher basketball team kind of put that zero tolerance policy in, and they made Trevor Mbakwe sit 10 minutes against Mankato.
Yeah, right. I didn't get in until there was 8:18 to go in the first half of the first exhibition.
Yeah.
I don't know what good it does them to play those exhibition games. I just can't see why they have to play them. A lot of schools don't play them.
Most everybody plays them now. You get a half a gate. They charge half price. But
it's good PR for the upper Midwest teams to come play, the Minnesota States and St. Cloud States.
Well, the problem is that those teams aren't nearly as competitive in the basketball as the hockey teams would be. Mankato hockey team or
that's Division I,
That's different. Well, and so I think I'm with Sid. I don't know why they play the games. I as a fan, would have no interest in go watching.
Tell me about the Gopher hockey team before we run out.
I'm concerned about their scoring ability. They start off like gangbusters, and he got against the under-18 team, and they should have won the game, but it looked the first period like they were disinterested, and they've never seemed to come completely out of that funk. They played well enough to win after that, but they tied, and then they only beat Canisius 1-0. Then they split now with Mankato, and Mankato played hard, and they played good. They had a lot of chances even here Friday night when they lost. The Gophers did have more quality chances, but then they got beat Saturday night, and it's concerning.
Was it a good crowd Friday at Mariucci?
Yeah, it was an excellent crowd. It was just about all full, but they got a tough schedule coming up.
All right, thanks, Louis. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Sid. See you back here next week, everybody. The Sports Show.